Hello, thank you for joining me today. I'm Amanda of Inspiring Inkin, and in today's video I've got 3 cards for you using a brand new bundle. It's launching on the 6th of May 2025. It's called Sunrise Sailing. This is the stamp set, but there is a really cool embossing folder and dies to coordinate with it. So let's get that camera turned around and do some crafting. This is a 3-part bundle. You can purchase the stamps on their own and the embossing folder and dies on their own. But obviously it's always cheaper to purchase it in a bundle. So the stamp set is photopolymer, and it's a 2-step stamp set. And what that actually means is there are multiple stamps that kind of coordinate on top of one another. So these splodges here go onto the sails, and this part is part of the boat as well. We've got some really lovely sentiments, including a happy retirement. I was really pleased to see that as a sentiment. Then you've got this lovely 3D embossing folder. It's got the boat and birds and clouds and then the sea. It's a 3D, it's 6x6, so you'll need one of the larger cut and emboss machines for this to work. And then you have the dies. Now, I'm going to be showing you the dies a bit later, but this is called a hybrid embossing folder, and it's designed so that you can stamp the boat and cut it out and lay this piece here so that you can have embossed and die cut piece just there. It's really, really cool. I am going to be making 3 cards today. One just using the stamps, one using the stamps in the embossing folder, and then one mainly using the dies. So like I said, we'll come back to the dies a little bit later on. But let's get started with some stamping. So I'm using my new favourite colour. If you've been here with me before, you will know blue is my favourite colour. Any shade of blue, I'm really not fussy. But this is Secret Sea, which is the new deep navy. It's got a bit of a grey tone to it as well. It's really lovely. And I've just got a landscape card blank and some layers of white card. So I'll quickly show you the card that I'm going to be making. It's this one, and I am just using one colour of ink. So we're going to be stamping it in multiple layers, so we can get some graduation and some tone in the card. And then these little pieces here are the new in colour flat pearls. So you've got 3 different sizes. The Secret Sea, there's Cloud Cover, Timid Tiger, Darling Duckling, and Strawberry Slush. So really lovely pearls there. And as it says, they are flat. Let me just show you that. Okay. So I've already got laid up. That I don't even know what I'm saying. I've already set up my stamps. So I've got the bird, I've got the ship or the boat, for the sails, for the inside of the boat, and I've got best wishes as well. So there we go. So I've got everything. Now the trick with this is where we're going to. The trick with this is to make sure that you can get the sentiment and the boat on your card base. So I am going to start with the sentiment first. It's not what I would normally do on a card, but I just wanted to make sure that it stands out and there's space for it. So that's the best wishes. Then I'm going to take the ink pad to the boat to stamp it. The reason I'm doing that is this is quite a big stamp and I just want to make sure it's fully inked. And then I can pop that down. And you can see I'm using a Stampin' Mat photopolymer stamp set. It's really important that you use the Stampin' Mat. It makes a huge difference to the crispness of the image. So both of those I have stamped in full strength, but everything else has been stamped off first. So I'm just going to get another piece of grid paper. Just reach down here. So I can just stamp off each time. So we'll start with the C. I'm going to stamp it off and then pop that down. And because this is quite wide, it's actually wider than the card blank, I'm going to just stamp it twice. Okay. And then we'll do the base or the hull of the boat. Now, when you're lining things up like this, it is best if you get your head right over the top of the stamp and look straight down. Now, I have varifocals and I found that sometimes it's not quite as straight as I'd like it. And it depends on how you look through your varifocal glasses. So if you find that you are consistently a bit wonky, then try looking through a different part of your glasses if you wear glasses, or standing up and looking down over the top of it, and you might be able to line it up a little bit better. We've got the pattern for the sails now. I'm going to stamp that off. And what you want to do is line up this left-hand edge with the left-hand edge of the sail. And then it will be in the right spot. And then we're just going to add in a few birds. And you really want odd numbers, so we'll have 5. And then I just want to add in some pearls. I'm just using the smallest ones for this card. And then for the inside, I'm actually going to use the birds again. Just to decorate the inside. Okay. So all we've got to do now is assemble that card. So this is a truly flat card. It's just a standard card blank, a basic white layer for the inside and a basic white layer for the front. So there's not even a matte layer as well. It's a super quick card, and you could do this with so many different colors as well. Obviously I'm using the Secret Sea, but it would work well with lots of other colors as well. Okay, so that's card number 1. So let's move on to card number 2. Again, this is just cardstock. So I have made a thick basic white card blank, and then I have got a basic white layer. And for this card, what I've actually done is I've done some stamping, and then I have run this through the embossing folder. So let's get everything ready so we can do that. So I have a few different colors of ink. So we've got Balmy Blue, we have got Misty Moonlight, and Crumb Cake. So I'm going to bring in my stamping mat again. I'll turn it around this way. Now again, as we did with the last card, you want to make sure that your boat is exactly where you need it, and means that you can actually get in some of the clouds and the sea, but everything has to be stamped first. That's not quite true. Everything apart from the birds. You'll see why in a second. But you need to pop all of that in first and then emboss it. So we want to make sure that the boat doesn't go off the edge. So we will start with the boat. And again, I'm taking the ink pad to the boat stamp and positioning it just a tiny bit down from the top. I'm going to put the hull in. And the sea is Balmy Blue. And then the sails, and again with the sail pattern, if you line up the left-hand edge of the stamp with the left-hand edge of the sail, it will pretty much line up. Doesn't have to be perfect, because this is designed like a watercolor wash. And then we need the Happy Retirement. And because this is stamped in Misty Moonlight, it actually doesn't matter too much if your reflection is if this ends up stamped over your reflection, because it's a deeper ink. So that is all the stamping apart from the birds. And the reason I don't want to put the birds on here yet is because I'm not entirely sure where the clouds, the embossing of the clouds is going to go. I'm just going to move the ink pads out of the way and grab the embossing folder. And our 3D embossing folders, just make sure when you are putting them into your die cutting or your cut and emboss machine that the hinge goes in first. And you'll see it because I'm actually going to get my cut and emboss machine up on the table in a second. What you don't want is for it to go this way through your machine, because sometimes this edge can butt up against the edge of the machine, and this hinge is delicate, and if you keep wearing away at it, eventually it will snap. It's also really good from a pressure point of view to make sure that the rollers, if I can sort of turn it this way, so as the rollers squash it, it's sort of squashing it to an open end, so it just kind of releases the pressure as it goes. So in order to make sure that this embosses the correct way, you want to have the bumpy bit at the bottom, and you're going to line your boat up with the boat image, and you need to line it up top, bottom, sides, and you can see the hull as well. And once it's all lined up, squash this together and just don't let this go. You can tape it down if you want to, but just make sure it's perfectly lined up. I'm going to have to let it go because I've got to get the cut and emboss machine. I will double check it before I run it through though. So for a 3D embossing folder, you need the thick plate and the speciality plate. Put the thick plate down. I haven't thought this through. This is going to be fun trying to wind it sideways, but that's okay. All right, so, oh yeah, you see it's slipped. So let's just pop it back in there again. You just want to double check it, pop it down. The hinge goes in first. And I've got the speciality plate. And I just give it a wind through. Ooh. There we go. And there we have it. So I'm just going to show you the back. You can see the depth of that embossing. It's amazing. You can't always see it on there. So now I can put my birds on because I can see where the clouds are. And for some reason, I've only got 2 birds on this card. I need to add a third. There we go. Okay, and we've got my card base. And I'm not actually going to put anything on the inside of the card. I don't need to put another layer inside because we've already got some white there to write on. Okay, so that is card number 2. So this is card number 3, and on this card I've used some of the stamps but mainly the dies and the embossing folders, and I just want to talk you through the dies first to just explain how some of the dies actually work. So I've got the dies here. Some of them are straightforward. This one is to cut out the stamped image. So that's straightforward. And then these 2 are to make clouds. So that's, again, really straightforward. These 2 pieces are really interesting. Let me actually pull them up a bit more so that you can see them. So these are to cut C, and it actually means that you can sort of slide things in between the layers. It cuts on that wiggly line and then cuts these pieces out. So I'll show you those where they've been die cut. Let me bring one up so you can see. So it makes a really lovely effect. And in actual fact, I know it's designed for C, but it would make a really cool effect on like a card front as well. So that's those. Then we have these pieces. Now you're going to be seeing me use them. They are designed as a boat and its matching sails, and then another boat and the matching sails, and you can actually see them here. So you'll see those in action when I make the card in a moment. And then this piece is the to cut out the birds, which I've got on here. Now on the back of this piece of card, and actually I've die cut them already just to save. I've die cut all of the pieces actually just to save time. But this piece has got, oh, fallen on the floor, has got adhesive sheet on the back. So I should be able just to peel this off to show you. Okay. I'll be able to show you when I lift these out. So this has got adhesive sheet on the back, and basically it's a double-sided adhesive, and you just cut a piece off and stick it on the back of your cardstock, and then when you peel it off, it means really delicate pieces like this have already got sticky on, and you're not trying to put glue on them. So it's really, really useful. And the other thing to say is I have coloured all of the boats. So I've die cut everything in white. And I've been using my blending brushes to colour everything. So let's pop that up there and pull out my colours. Actually, I've got open ink pads from the last card. So let's just close those up. So I have got Pool Party, Lost Lagoon, and Pretty Peacock. So there, actually, that's the die cut piece when you've actually stamped and die cut it. So I've got my birds, a couple of clouds, oh, got another cloud actually here, another cloud, and then these pieces. So the way that the boats are actually designed, you've got the mast, and then you've got this piece, this triangular piece on the left-hand side on this boat and the right-hand side of this one. And it coordinates with that triangle piece there so that you know exactly where to put it. So it just goes over the top, and it's sticking to my finger now, and lines up perfectly to make your boat in full sail. So pop those there. So we're going to start out doing the sea and the stamping and the background first. So I've got a Pretty Peacock card base, and I've got a Pool Party base. I'm going to start with that first, and I don't know how well the camera will be able to pick it up, but you can see just here I've got some sort of wisps of colour. And what I did was I used the grid paper. Got another ink pad open. Let me just get rid of that. So I used this stamp, which is actually designed as the sea, in Pool Party, and I stamped it off and then stamped it several times over the top of the card. Just to kind of give the sky a bit of texture. Yeah, you can just see that there. So that's that piece. I then stamped the Happy Retirement in Pretty Peacock. I'm just trimming that down to make the layer. And now I need a pretty peacock cardstock layer to mat this. I don't have one, so I'm going to make one with my pretty peacock ink. So just inking up my blending brush, and then I'm just going to go over the top. And this is actually how I got the colour for the birds. So I'm just turning basic white cardstock into whatever colour of cardstock I need. So this is a really good tip if you run out. I have actually run out of strawberry slush card, which is the new pink card, and I had to do this the other day because I was teaching a class with it. So I had to teach everybody how to make their own strawberry slush card. Okay. So I've got that piece. I'm going to stick it down with a little border and then trim it. There we go. We've got a small border all the way around. So I've actually got my sentiment piece. Now the next piece is the sea. In order to do that, I'm going to need my cut and emboss machine again. And I'm using just part of the embossing folder. So I just want this bottom section. So I'm just going to pop that in. I want to make sure that I'm getting it all in. But can you see the problem? Because this embossing folder has to go in this way, so this is the seam, it's not going to work. So what I've actually got to do is cut my cardstock down so it'll fit. Obviously, what I could do, the other thing I could do is kind of sacrifice the rest of the card, but there's no need to do that. I can just cut this down so it fits. Just like that. Okay. So you might have put that in and just thought, oh, well, I'll just put the embossing folder in the other way around. Ooh, let me move those ink pads out of the way. And that's why I sort of mentioned it earlier, because I've had embossing folders that have cracked because they've got caught consistently on one side. So I would rather share with you things that go wrong so that they don't go wrong for you. Okay, so I've got my little piece of sea. Now this is the straight edge. And what I've actually done here is cut to follow the lumps and bumps on the embossing. And I just wanted it to kind of go up and down a little bit. Rather than just be a straight edge. Okay, so if I pop that there, you'll be able to see. Just got a little bit of a wobble on it. But obviously this is basic white, and this is a bit more sea coloured. It's Pool Party. So let's get Pool Party ink. Different blending brush. You can use blending brushes for multiple colours. Just rinse them out. if you have only got, I don't know, maybe 6, a couple of sets, then have one for blue, one for yellow, one for red, one for purple, one for green, one for the browns, and that will make it easier for you. And you can just clean it by just brushing it onto a piece of scrap card if you're sort of going between colours that are very similar. You only need to wash them if you're actually going to be going with a completely different colour. So I'm taking off quite a lot of ink. I don't want very much ink on here. I'm just going to go softly over the top. And you'll see, if I put it onto another piece of white card, you'll see how quickly that colour is building. Okay, so that's the sea. Now we've got to sort out our little boats. Ooh. And I just wanted to keep the colours very similar, so it was very tonal. So I'm going to do the base of this boat is going to be pool party. Just be careful when you're colouring in, because that just there, that piece of mast is actually quite delicate. And you just need to do the top as well. So the mast at the bottom and the top. You don't need to colour this piece in because the sails are going to go over that in a minute. And then I'm going to do the sails on this one. And I'm not worrying about covering it over too much, because I'm going to be adding a little bit of highlights with my Lost Lagoon. So I'm just going to kind of go to the edges of this just to add a little bit more tone. And then we're going to get the Pretty Peacock. I'm going to do Pretty Peacock for the base of this. And then for this one, I'm going to do a mixture of Pretty Peacock and Lost Lagoon. And obviously you can play around with this. It would look really nice if you stamped different stamps on it. You put sort of geometric patterns, or you could emboss them. Let me just pop these on here, so it's never easy to see when you've been using the blending brushes. There you go. So you can see the different shades and tones. I'm going to put my glue for this set of sails actually on that triangle. There you go, you can see that better. On that triangle, and then I'm going to line this up. And what I actually want to do is just bring it down to the very top of the sail is underneath the ball that is at the top of the mast. There you go, you'll be able to see. So you can actually see that ball at the top of the mast, and then the same with this one. So again, just bring it down just slightly so that you can see the ball at the top of the mast. So that is actually everything for this card. We just need to assemble it. I'm going to get a bit more grid paper. so we can pop all the pieces together. So we've got the pool party piece that we stamped. And then we've got our C. Let me pop that there, actually. You'll be able to see that. Move the ink pads out of the way. Oh, every time I know that I will end up with stuff all over my fingers and I'll ruin the card before it's finished. Okay. So we've got the sea and the sky. Get the sentiment down. And I put the sentiment down again so that it's going to be on the card in the right place, because I can position the boats around. So that's on there. So then I'm going to put my boats down. And of course you could put these on dimensionals as well. I'm just going to put this down flat on a jaunty angle. I'll put this one going in the opposite direction. And then we'll add cloud in the middle. Then I'm going to put a cloud on each end. And you might actually be able to get away with just one cloud. And just cut it on both sides. So that will work. Like so. And then I've got my birds that I die cut earlier. Let's see if I can get these out. Should have brought my pokey tool. Hang on. So you can see how tiny that is. And because it's got this extra layer on it, it's got the backing paper. Oop. Yum. It's got the backing paper and then the glue. So I can just peel it off. And you can see, so that's the backing paper. And then the die cut piece has actually got glue on it. It's such a time saver. And if you have any really intricate dies, it really does make a difference. I mean, these are obviously tiny little scraps of dies. But if you've got something that's got a really sort of lacy, intricate pattern, that will work really well as well. I should have got my pokey tool, but there we go. One more to go. Okay, let's just get the card base. And again, this is a landscape card base. I think this works really well for this, this kind of style, because it gives you more space to get boats on. But obviously when you're stamping the larger boat, it works really well the other way as well. Okay, so there we have our third card. Let me just bring in the other two so you can see all of them together. So this, as I said, this is the sunrise sailing. bundle. It's launched on the 6th of May 2025. It's part of the online exclusives, so you won't see it in the new catalogue, but if you look for Sunrise Sailing on the online store, you will be able to find it. Please make sure to subscribe on YouTube and my blog, and you'll find clickable links, and all of the products will be available to purchase in my online store. Do pop over to my blog, which is www.inspiringinkin.com. Take care. I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.